The coronavirus pandemic has taught people all sorts of lessons, and there are important takeaways for investors as well. For one thing, however bleak things might seem, you mustn't panic. Joachim Klement is an investment strategist based in London.
I think in this crisis, just like in every other major crisis, the investors that have done best are the ones that didn't panic. That didn't try to sell in a panic in March when everything seemed to end, including the world. Those that have stuck to their guns, remained long-term investors, they have actually benefited from the recovery that we've seen since late March, which so far nobody has really expected.
As Joachim says, the stock market rebound took many investors by surprise. But this is a common misunderstanding. The stock market and the economy are two very different things.
If you compare the composition of the stock market, it is very, very different from actually the real economy. For example, consumer goods and retailers, shops, etc. Are about 15 to 20% of the real economy if you measure it as part of GDP. But it's only about 10% of the British stock market. It's even more extreme in the US, where more than 20% of the market cap are IT companies, while IT as a direct contribution to GDP is only about 4 or 5%. So it's a total mismatch between what is happening in the stock markets and what is really happening in the real economy.
Most, if not all, investors have made a mistake at some point or another. The important thing is to see them as learning experiences and to avoid making the same mistake again.
There are two lessons that the average investor can learn. First of all, the value of long-term investing, to stick to an investment through the ups and downs. It's really hard to do that in practice, especially if the world is going upside down. But there are some tips and tricks that you can do in order to kind of create that discipline to stick through with your investments into the long run. The other lesson that an investor can learn from this crisis, once again, is that you shouldn't necessarily trust the forecasts of experts. Because as we've seen time and again, and especially in this crisis, the experts are often very, very wrong.
We keep hearing how unprecedented the coronavirus crisis is. In some ways it is unprecedented, but in others it's not particularly out of the ordinary. There will always be uncertainty. No one knows the future. The best approach is to be aware of the range of possible outcomes and invest accordingly.